What's up, family? Welcome to Mini Bytes session 40. Yes, session 40. This is wild. This is a milestone session. Today's theme is Imperfect is the New Perfect. And my name is Erin McCluskey. I'm a mindset and performance coach. If you would like to learn more about my work or reach out to me directly, you can visit www.erinjewelcoaching.com. That is www.erinjewelcoaching.com. And so today we're going to talk about how imperfect is the new perfect. And I've done some sessions in the past where we've talked a little bit about this idea of what it means to be perfectly imperfect. But today's theme is inspired by something a little bit different, and it is the fact that we, somewhere along the way, some of us learned or decided to tell ourselves this story that we had to show up perfectly. And that translated into behaviors for me personally over a period of time in my life where, in my effort to show up as perfect, and my definition of perfection being one that was entirely unrealistic for any human being, including myself. And as a result of my desire to show up perfectly, I would lie, and I would manipulate, and I would exaggerate, and I would downplay, and I would hide things about myself in order to come across like I am perfect. And what else would I say? I would say things like I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm great. I would, to come across as perfect, which to me meant all of those things as well. It ended up having me hide things about myself that I thought I needed to hide, which then turned into various manifestations over time. They turned into this idea that I needed to hide certain aspects so that I could show up perfectly. Had me hiding addiction. It had me hiding certain stories that I was telling myself. It had me hiding certain parts of me to certain people. And I found myself never really showing up as I fully was for anyone in my life, and that included family. And, it's interesting because we talk about authenticity a lot. And I heard the word authenticity a lot when I was in my previous career. And, I do believe that we show up authentically, that all humans are always showing up authentically. And the reason for that is because we're always showing up in the best way we know how. So a lot of the things that I share during these videos are really gifts and discoveries along my personal journey as a result of the inner work that I've done. So I wasn't aware of the lying and the manipulation and the hiding as much when I was actually doing it. I was almost blind in a lot of ways to what I was doing. In some cases, I wasn't blind. In some cases, I was purposefully hiding certain aspects about me because I was afraid that I would not come across as perfect if people became aware of these certain things. And the funniest part about all that is that no matter what, we all have things. We all have various aspects about ourselves that maybe aren't as pretty or as perfect seeming, but really they are just as perfect. But somewhere along the way, I decided to tell myself a story that in order to show up perfect, I had to hide these things. And, as we hide certain aspects about ourselves and as we tell ourselves that we have to show up perfectly, that actually can turn into a lot of problems. And it turned into a lot of problems for me, as I mentioned earlier on a minute ago. What that looks like for me, it looks like lying, it looks like manipulation, it looks like not showing up as all of me, not showing all of me to everybody in my life. And I remember coming across people during my journey and who say things like, well, you're not supposed to show all of your cards depending on who you're with. And it's like, that's kind of a myth too, because when we're living with integrity, showing up as we are, it really doesn't matter who we're showing ourselves to. It just, the important thing is that we're showing up as we are. And as I continue on this journey of self-discovery, I am coming to realize more and more that I get to show up as I am with everyone in my life, regardless of who that is. And it brings me a tremendous amount of comfort, contentment, and peace. And so imperfect is the new perfect. And I think we're seeing that more in our society. I think people are beginning to talk about that more as a thing, especially now as we're dealing with a lot of suicides doubling in teenagers, and we're dealing with a lot of manifestations of individuals thinking they have to show up perfectly. We're realizing that that's not possible, and that actually the definition of perfect is to be redefined. And the definition of perfect is to be redefined as imperfect. And I do believe that the more imperfectly we show up, that the more imperfectly I show up, the more perfect I really am. So I encourage each of you to embrace that imperfect is the new perfect, and allow that to show up in your world however that does, and be okay with how others respond to it. And just know those imperfections that you have, probably most of the people around you at this time have those very same imperfections. So it's all good. Love you all. Until the next time.